In the year 2487, inside the Grand Chamber of Unity Spire, an orbital station floating above the neutral zone of the galaxy, Captain Elias Rain stood still, his face calm but his thoughts racing like a starship at full burn. Around him, the representatives of 200 alien civilizations sat in their shining seats, each face either unreadable or quietly hostile. The Galactic Council had summoned Earth's finest not to offer congratulations, but to deliver an ultimatum. Humanity had finally earned a place in the Council after decades of growth, diplomacy, and sacrifice. But now that invitation came with an unexpected condition: dismantle the Sentinel Line. The Sentinel Line was a vast network of autonomous defense satellites spread across the outer reaches of human space, watching for threats with machine precision and acting faster than any manned fleet could. It was humanity's shield, its silent protector in the dark. The Council claimed it was dangerous, too independent, too aggressive, and that its presence made other species nervous. But Rain knew better. For years, he had studied the Council's shifting alliances, their double-faced politics, their sudden reversals. He had seen peaceful systems stripped of autonomy under the excuse of security. This wasn't fear, it was strategy. The Sentinel Line didn't make the Council nervous because it was dangerous. It made them nervous because they couldn't control it. And now they wanted Earth to lower its defenses and kneel. Rain's orders were simple: accept the Council's demand, assure them of Earth's loyalty, and sign the treaty that would dismantle the Sentinel Line within 30 standard days. But the moment he stepped into the chamber and saw the Krell ambassador seated at the inner ring, a species that had not been seen in Council matters for over a century, his gut twisted. The Krell Dominion had once been Earth's greatest enemy during the early expansion wars. Brutal, intelligent, and utterly ruthless, they were driven back only after Earth built the Sentinel Line to keep them from ever returning. Seeing them here, silent but watching, told Rain something no words could. The Krell were not gone, they had made a deal. And the Council was now part of it. The Council speaker, a tall, silver-skinned Varelian, stood and addressed the chamber with practiced authority, her voice cold and official. She outlined the terms once again, using words like peace, cooperation, and shared trust, but Rain only heard warning bells. When it was his turn to speak, he kept his voice even but firm. He asked for time. He asked why the Sentinel Line was suddenly a threat when it had never fired first. He asked what the Krell were doing it. Council space. The chamber shifted uncomfortably. The speaker avoided his questions and replied that continued resistance would be seen as non-cooperation. Rain knew what that meant. If Earth didn't comply, the Council could classify humanity as a rogue civilization, opening the way for military action under the so-called Peace Enforcement Protocol. As the session ended, Rain walked silently out of the chamber and into the shadows of the observation deck, staring out into the endless stars. The weight of his duty pressed on his chest. Back home, millions depended on the Sentinel Line. Earth had enjoyed peace for 20 years because of it. Taking it down would be like turning off the lights in a dark forest full of predators. He tapped his communicator and spoke just one line in code: activate Protocol Emberfall. It was a command that only a few would understand. It meant prepare for defensive lockdown. He knew what would follow: disgrace, charges of insubordination, maybe even a warrant for his arrest. But something inside him refused to bow to politics dressed in lies. As he stood watching the stars, a Council enforcer ship flew past, scanning the station's perimeter. They were already watching him. Behind him, footsteps approached. It was Cass Irons, his old wingmate and now a Council liaison, her eyes sharp with concern. "You just made yourself a target," she said quietly. Rain nodded, his jaw tight. "If being a target is the price of protecting Earth, then I'll wear the bullseye proudly." Cass looked at him for a long moment, then without a word, handed him a data chip. "Evidence," she said simply. "Fleet movements, hidden transmissions." "You're not wrong, Rain. They've been planning something. But be careful. You're not just defying orders. You're defying the entire structure of the galaxy." Rain pocketed the chip and turned back toward the hangar bay. He had a ship to reach, a crew to find, and a plan to make. Somewhere, deep in the cold quiet of space, he would prepare for what came next. because now he knew two things with complete certainty. First, the Council was not here to protect peace. It was here to control it. And second, Earth was about to stand alone. But maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what humanity needed to remind the stars who they truly were. Captain Elias Rain's defiance had consequences faster than he expected. The moment he sent the secret message to Earth to activate Protocol Emberfall, the Galactic Council declared him a traitor and stripped him of his rank. His name was blacklisted across every official channel. His face, once honored in every spaceport, was now shown in warning broadcasts, marked as a rogue officer who threatened the fragile peace of the galaxy. The Council didn't waste time. A specially assigned task force, led by Admiral Selena Vex from the Varelian Navy, was sent to detain Rain and bring him back for trial. But Rain was prepared. He disappeared from the Unity Spire the same night, using a secret exit known only to a few. His target was the ISV Valkyrie, his old ship, now decommissioned and gathering dust in a forgotten shipyard near Earth's orbit. The Valkyrie was more than a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a battleship that had survived countless battles and carried legends in its hull. Rain knew the Council would expect him to be running, hiding, or surrendering, but he had no intention of giving up. He had to find a way to fight, to protect Earth and its people from the darkness creeping closer. As he reached the Valkyrie, his small team gathered in secret. Tessa Ko, the brilliant engineer who could fix anything with a broken circuit, Omari Dent, the AI specialist who knew how to make machines think like humans, and Cass Irons, his trusted pilot, ready to take the ship anywhere at a moment's notice. Their reunion was quiet, heavy with the knowledge that this mission could be their last. Time was short. The Council's task force was already moving in, sweeping through space stations and shipping lanes, looking for any trace of the rogue captain. Rain wasted no time. The Valkyrie's systems had been shut down for years, so they worked through the long hours of the orbital night to bring the ship back to life. Sparks flew, alarms beeped, and the hum of engines stirred once more within the ship's core. But something was wrong. During a deep systems check, Omari discovered a hidden program running quietly in the Valkyrie's AI, something unfamiliar, something dangerous. It wasn't there before. A spy from the Council had secretly boarded the ship before Rain's arrival, planting a backdoor for sabotage or betrayal. The crew was tense, knowing they were not only racing against time, but also fighting an enemy inside their own ship. As they scrambled to find and remove the spy's code, the Council's task force appeared on their radar. Several heavily armed frigates blocked the path between the Valkyrie and the jump point to deep space. Rain realized they were outgunned and outnumbered, but he also knew the Council expected him to flee in panic. Instead, he devised a risky plan. Using the decoy drones hidden inside the Valkyrie's hangar, they launched several unmanned ships disguised as the Valkyrie, each carrying a false signature of his command. The Council fleet took the bait and pursued the phantom ships through a narrow asteroid field, where the drones dispersed and self-destructed in a spectacular display of light and debris. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie slipped quietly away in the opposite direction, cloaked by a shield of stealth technology recently upgraded by Tessa. The tension aboard was thick as every second could mean discovery and death. Rain's mind raced over their next move. They couldn't return to Earth. The Council's forces were too close, and the planet's defenses were vulnerable without the Sentinel line active. The only option was to head toward Sigma Arcos, a remote, shadowy colony on the fringe of known space. It was a place whispered about in underground networks as a haven for exiles, scientists, and thinkers who had fled the Council's reach. Rain hoped to find allies there, people who understood the true threat and had the skills to help him fight back. But Sigma Arcos was dangerous. No official records showed who controlled it. The Valkyrie's crew prepared for the jump, tension mounting as the ship's engines warmed up. Before leaving, Rain reviewed the encrypted data Cass had smuggled from the Unity Spire. It revealed unsettling details. The Council was quietly aligning with the Krell Dominion, the very enemy Earth had feared for decades. The Krell were preparing to return, and the Council intended to surrender humanity to them in exchange for peace that would mean submission and slavery. The weight of betrayal crushed Rain's spirit, but strengthened his resolve. As the Valkyrie slipped through the jump gate into the cold void between stars, a silent alarm blinked on the control panel. The spy's program had triggered a final warning. The ship's reactor core was destabilizing, a countdown began, and the crew scrambled to contain the damage. With seconds left, Tessa managed to reroute the energy flow, stabilizing the core but alerting the Council fleet to their exact location. Rain stood on the bridge, staring at the stars rushing past them. He was a hunted man, exiled and alone in a galaxy that no longer trusted him. But he was also a captain who refused to surrender. Ahead lay Sigma Arcos, and with it, hope. Behind them, the Council's wrath was closing in. Somewhere in the shadows, the Krell waited. The fight for Earth's future had only just begun. The ISV Valkyrie emerged from the jump gate near Sigma Arcos, but instead of the bustling colony they expected, Captain Elias Rain and his crew were met with eerie silence and the sight of ruins scattered across the rocky landscape below. The once thriving outpost, known for harboring exiled scientists and rebels, had been reduced to ashes, its buildings crushed and smoldering, evidence of a recent and brutal assault. Rain felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach as he scanned the desolate terrain. The destruction was not random. The Council's hand was clear. Whoever had attacked Sigma Arcos had sent a brutal message. No one was safe if they defied the Council. Yet, among the rubble, the crew spotted faint signals of life. Risking a descent, they landed the Valkyrie shuttle near a hidden underground entrance partially buried under debris. Inside, the air was stale but breathable, the walls scorched and cracked. Deep within the labyrinthine tunnels, they found survivors few and frail, but alive. Dr. Alan Kaur, a bio-neural weapons engineer whose work had been outlawed by the Council, greeted them with wary eyes. She explained that the Council had raided the colony days ago, hunting for secret projects that could tip the balance of power. Many scientists had been captured or killed, but she had managed to hide the prototype they had been working on, a new type of AI called Neuralink, designed to integrate directly with ship systems and enhance the connection between pilot and machine beyond anything seen before. Rain knew this could be their chance to fight back, but the technology was dangerous and untested, and the strain on the human mind could be devastating. Still, with no other options, they agreed to install Neuralink on the Valkyrie. As Omari Dent began integrating the AI, strange things started to happen. The ship's systems responded faster than ever, almost anticipating commands before Rain gave them. But the crew also noticed unsettling side effects, moments of dizziness, sudden headaches, and fleeting visions that seemed too real to be hallucinations. They suspected that the AI was interfacing with their minds at a deeper level than expected. Meanwhile, tensions ran high as they secured the underground base against possible follow-up attacks. But their troubles were not just external. The spy from the Council who had planted sabotage aboard the Valkyrie had managed to escape into the tunnels during their first repairs, hiding among the ruins. He watched, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. One night, as Rain rested in the ship's quarters, an explosion rocked the reactor bay. The crew rushed to find the saboteur, attempting to overload the core and destroy the ship from within. In the chaos, Rain confronted the traitor in a tense standoff deep in the engine room. Words were useless. The spy lunged with a hidden blade. Rain narrowly avoided the strike and forced the man into an airlock, ejecting him into the cold void. The crew sealed the breach and stabilized the reactor, but the damage reminded them how close betrayal had come. With Neuralink fully operational and the Valkyrie repaired, Rain's crew prepared to leave Sigma Arcos. The colony was lost, but the knowledge and technology they salvaged were priceless. As they lifted off, Rain looked down at the burning remains below, vowing that those who destroyed this place would answer for their crimes. His thoughts turned to Earth and the approaching Council fleet. Time was running out, and the coming battle would test everything they had rebuilt here: their trust, their courage, and the very limits of their humanity. Ahead lay a war unlike any before, and only those willing to fight with mind and machine could hope to survive. The ISV Valkyrie returned to the outer orbit of Earth, a lone fortress against the dark tide gathering beyond the planet's atmosphere. Captain Elias Rain and his crew prepared for the battle they knew was inevitable, an assault from the Galactic Council's fleet, backed by the Krell Dominion's shadowy forces, aimed at crushing the last flicker of human resistance. Earth's defenses were weakened without the Sentinel line, and the Council's ultimatum had left the planet exposed. Rain moved through the ship with quiet urgency, every crew member aware that the coming hours could decide humanity's fate. The Neuralink system hummed beneath the surface, connecting pilot to machine in a way no one had experienced before. It sharpened their reflexes but came with a price. Exhaustion crept into their bodies, and Rain saw the strain in Cass Iron's eyes as she prepared the Valkyrie's weapons systems. On the command bridge, holographic displays filled the room with data streams as enemy ships appeared on the horizon like swarms of hungry predators. The Council's fleet was vast and organized, but Rain trusted the Valkyrie's upgraded AI and his crew's skill. He issued commands with calm precision, weaving through missile barrages and energy blasts, striking key targets with pinpoint accuracy. Yet, the battle was more than a test of firepower. The Council ships deployed electronic warfare, trying to jam their systems and scramble their sensors. At the same time, the Krell forces unleashed biological drones, small, fast, and deadly, designed to infiltrate and destroy from within. Rain's crew fought with everything they had, combining human intuition and the AI's enhanced guidance, managing to hold their ground against overwhelming odds. But even as the Valkyries scored victories, Rain sensed something deeper at play. The Council's true goal was not just to win the fight, but to break humanity's spirit, to make them submit willingly. Amid the chaos, a Council envoy broadcasted a message demanding surrender, threatening total annihilation if Earth resisted. Rain refused to listen. Instead, he sent a coded message back to the scattered human fleets and colonies, calling them to unite and stand firm. As the battle raged, Cass piloted the Valkyrie with incredible skill, her connection through Neuralink allowing her to anticipate enemy maneuvers and evade deadly strikes. But the strain was visible, her hands trembled slightly, and sweat lined her brow. Rain recognized the cost of this new technology, the blurred line between human and machine. He vowed to protect his crew as much as Earth. Suddenly, the Council fleet shifted tactics, pulling back just enough to regroup before launching a devastating coordinated strike. The Valkyrie's shields flickered under the onslaught, and the crew scrambled to repair critical systems. In a bold move, Rain ordered a daring counterattack, diving through a narrow gap between two massive warships and striking the Council's command vessel directly. Explosions rocked the enemy flagship, causing chaos among their ranks. This moment of opportunity allowed the human forces to press forward, regaining lost ground. Still, victory was far from certain. Rain knew reinforcements from the Krell Dominion could arrive at any moment, turning the tide against them. The crew worked tirelessly, balancing hope and exhaustion, their minds linked by the Neuralink AI but their spirits burning with fierce determination. As the battle stretched into hours, Rain looked toward Earth's blue horizon. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and despite the overwhelming odds, he believed they could prevail. The fight was no longer just about ships and weapons. It was about proving that humanity would not bow to tyranny, that even in exile and near defeat, they could stand tall. The Valkyrie blazed through the darkness, a symbol of resistance and hope, ready to face whatever came next at Earth's edge. The battle at Earth's edge had stretched beyond what anyone had imagined possible, and Captain Elias Rain, worn but unbroken, stood at the helm of the ISV Valkyrie as the final wave of the Galactic Council's fleet closed in, their ships dark silhouettes against the glowing planet below. Every system on the Valkyrie screamed warnings, shields weakening, engines overheating, weapon systems pushed to their limits, but Rain's mind was sharp, guided by a mixture of fierce determination and the strange clarity brought by the Neuralink AI that now ran deep within the ship's core and his own thoughts. Around him, his crew fought with desperate courage. Cass Irons barely blinked as she danced through enemy fire, her every move predicted and enhanced by the AI's connection, while Tessa and Omari worked furiously to keep the Valkyrie alive, patching damage and optimizing energy flows in a constant battle against time. Despite the chaos, Rain refused to give in to fear. The message he had sent out weeks ago to scattered human colonies and fleets had not been ignored. Ships of all sizes and colors, from old cargo haulers retrofitted for battle to sleek fighters armed with experimental tech, now swarmed around the Valkyrie, answering the call to defend their home. Humanity's spirit, scattered but unyielding, had ignited into a wildfire of resistance. As the Council's main forces pressed their attack, a sudden explosion rocked the flagship, momentarily disrupting their formation and causing hesitation among their ranks. Rain seized the moment, ordering a daring maneuver that pushed the Valkyrie directly into the enemy command ship's blind spot, firing a barrage of plasma torpedoes that tore through its hull. The flagship exploded in a brilliant fireball, sending shockwaves through the fleet. The enemy faltered, their command structure thrown into disarray. Yet Rain knew this victory was only the beginning. The Krell Dominion's hidden fleet, larger and more terrifying than any human ship, emerged from a nearby nebula, their ships bristling with weaponry designed to annihilate entire worlds. The Council's betrayal had been complete, their alliance with the Krell now clear and undeniable. With little time to react, Rain made a decision that shocked even his crew. Using the Valkyrie's AI-driven Neuralink, he initiated a direct mental link with the ship's systems, pushing the boundaries of human-machine fusion to new heights. The strain was immense, searing his mind with pain and visions of countless battles fought and lost. His body trembled as the AI melded with his neural pathways, amplifying his senses and reflexes beyond human limits, but risking permanent damage, or worse, losing himself completely in the machine. But he held on, because he knew that only by becoming more than a captain could he lead humanity through this darkness. The Valkyrie's engines roared as Rain guided it through the heart of the Krell fleet, dodging plasma storms and missile swarms with impossible precision. His crew moved as one with him, their trust and loyalty unbreakable. Together, they unleashed devastating counterattacks, targeting Krell supply lines and command nodes. Slowly, the tide turned. The Krell ships, unfamiliar with human tactics and unwilling to fight a war of minds as much as machines, began to falter. On the bridge, Rain glimpsed the faces of his crew, tired, bruised, but alive, and felt a surge of hope. This was what it meant to fight not just with weapons, but with will and heart. But victory came at a cost. The mental connection to Neuralink drained Rain's strength. At moments, he felt himself slipping away, trapped in a storm of data and memories, struggling to hold on to his own identity. Cass stayed by his side, her voice calm but urgent, reminding him to breathe, to come back. In those moments, Rain realized that leadership was not just about strength, but about trusting others to share the burden, to stand together when one falters. As the battle reached its climax, the Council's shattered fleet began to retreat, and the Krell withdrew into the shadows, defeated but not destroyed. The cost was high, many ships lost, many lives sacrificed, but humanity had stood firm. On the bridge, Rain finally released the Neuralink connection, gasping for air as his body and mind struggled to reconnect. The crew surrounded him, their faces full of respect and relief. The captain, who had defied the Galactic Council, who had faced impossible odds and refused to bow, had changed the stars themselves. Earth's defenses were no longer just machines or weapons, they were symbols of human spirit and unity, forged through pain and sacrifice. As the Valkyrie sailed back toward Earth's surface, Rain looked out at the stars, the same stars he'd once thought cold and distant, now shining with new meaning. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, hope burned bright. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a captain who would not just survive but inspire, a leader who showed that even against tyranny, even when all seemed lost, humanity could rise and claim its place among the stars.